Alright, before I start, I would like you guys to turn off your WhatsApp. Okay, I will turn off mine as well. Okay, it can be quite kind of distracting. Please turn off your WhatsApp and enlarge my screen. Okay, so I won't be doing screen share. This will be my screen and my background. Okay, so with that, okay, we'll be starting lesson 4. Okay, so lesson 4 is an interesting extract. So I'll just like you guys to indicate whether you are seeing the correct paper. Okay, so if you are, please type on the chat so that I can see. Or any difficulties accessing that. Okay, so I have a couple of you are seeing the same thing. Okay, so while the rest go on, okay, I will want to point out which are the compulsory questions. Okay, so make sure you're visible. I can see your face. Okay, okay, I can see most of your face except Ashley. You want to tilt down your webcam. Thanks. Alright, so today's compulsory question, okay, will be B1. Okay, please circle that. B1, B2, and sorry, A, B1, B2, and question F. Okay, so let me repeat the compulsory questions that we are attempting is A, B1, B2, and question F. So the remaining questions, for those who wants extra practice, you can do it at the end, okay, and attach it behind your time practice. I highly recommend, especially those who didn't do well for promos. Okay, so if not, okay, this 4 will be our compulsory questions. Okay, my time now is 2:06. Okay, once you are ready, okay, I'll give you 15 minutes to do an outline. Right? Let's go. A, B1, B2, and F. Okay, A1, B2, and F. Maybe I will make it smaller. Y'all can see? Right, so make sure you do the outline properly and submit your outline together with your actual practice. Thanks. You have 4 more minutes to wrap up your outline. Remember to submit your outline together. Okay, I've seen some of you guys are forgetting to submit your outline. Zach, kind of, yes. Thanks.
And thank you.
Okay, 1 last minute to wrap up. Alright, time's up. Stop writing. Thanks. Okay, we will conclude the planning activity. Please turn on your webcam. Right, so great. For a start, I would like you guys to type out which are the interesting questions that you guys found difficult. You probably want me to spend more time at. Okay, so that I can cater to your needs. Yeah, you can drop me a PM, okay, if you're unsure. Or you're not comfortable with sharing with the rest. Right, okay, so I have question F for Elijah. Well, okay, great. Right, so we have B2 and F. Okay, so probably for today we'll spend more time on B2 and F. Okay, so with that, okay, maybe let's start with B2. For those who actually indicated B2, maybe you want to share with me what is the challenge that you encountered for B2. Okay, which aspect of B2 you found particularly difficult? For those who didn't find B2 difficult, then I'll probably want you to listen for similarities, alright? look out for what your classmates are going to share. Not sure how to explain 6 marks worth. Explaining the difference using PED. Right. So for this case study, there are actually 2 particularly interesting questions. B2 and F, they are the highlights, so please bookmark them. Alright, so for those who did not point out them as a challenge, probably I'd like to hear from you. Probably Elijah. Okay, what is your approach for B2? Share with your classmates.
Don't know if it's correct or not lah, but basically like during the day the power should be price inelastic due to consumers requiring the power more in the day than night. Then nighttime is price elastic, so companies will utilize this to increase price for daytime power in order to increase their profitability and maximize profit.
Okay.
And same for the other way around.
So nighttime is price elastic, so lower price lah. Am I right to say that?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, my internet connection wasn't stable. Hey, anytime when my internet connection is not stable, just point out to me. Yeah, great, thanks. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so for those who have heard Elijah, how do y'all think? Do y'all think this approach is sound? If it's sound, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, or not so okay. All right, so now, okay, actually Elijah only get it half right. So what is the other missing half? Anyone? Okay, or Elijah, you did you have anything else to add on to the missing half? Think through. So we realize that Elijah's approach is addressing PED. Explaining the difference between day and night, right? But it doesn't address how far. Right, so what is this question require? What does this question requires? This question requires you to adopt the thesis and antithesis approach. If not, they won't use how far, right? So you can see that thesis. Somebody was still asking me thesis. What is thesis? So for thesis, PED can explain. Still laggy? Oh no. Still laggy? Wait, am I back? Still. Okay, didn't really. It's still quite laggy. Oh damn! I also don't know what happens here. Trying to off everything already. That doesn't take bandwidth. But please let me. It says that network is slow, but I can see all of you well. But you guys cannot hear me. Is it? Now can? Or still cannot? Am I back? If I'm back, just let me know. If I'm out, then you just type it out so that I can pick up from there. So as I was saying, this question requires a thesis and antithesis approach. So the thesis is PED can explain, right? Which is what Elijah has mentioned. What about the antithesis? What is the antithesis here? PED cannot explain, right? So in other words, what else? What other factors can explain? So the challenge for such questions is most of the students they cannot address the antithesis or fail to identify antithesis. So there are some permutations to such question type. So other than how far, the more popular question phrasing would be the keyword called comment. So look out for the keyword comment. Whenever comment come out, you have to structure it thesis and antithesis. So some of the students who are not familiar with thesis and antithesis, you can use the concept of for and against. Right? So for, PED can explain. Against, PED cannot explain. Other factors. Alright, so now let's break it up. So I think Elijah pretty much got it right. You can actually see that daytime, the electric charges is generally higher than nighttime, right? So why is Or why is the electric company pricing the electric charges higher in the daytime as compared to the night? So if we were to work backwards, okay, daytime has to be more price inelastic. Okay, therefore you raise price to maximize revenue, right? Nighttime is more price elastic. That's why you lower price. That's why there's a price gap. So the challenge here lies in identifying, okay, the rationale of producers, okay, to raise price or lower price. Okay, that's producers' pricing decision. And the secondary layer or the secondary concept that is tested is the determinant itself, right? So you have to be familiar, okay, with the determinant here. Okay, so we have, if you flip to your book, page 12, okay, we have 4 determinants, PANT, a proportion of income spent, availability of substitutes, okay, nature of good and time period. Okay, this is likely to be which alphabet? Which alphabet do you think is likely to fit the criteria here? Okay, based on Elijah's illustration. Right, we have degree of necessity, right? Okay, so daytime, you need to justify why is there greater electric, or why is electricity more of a necessity? Why? Okay, because daytime you need aircon, right? Just now I saw someone pressing the remote control. Right, nighttime you probably can sleep without aircon. Agreed? Okay, likewise, daytime there's a lot more economic activities going on. Okay, a lot more electric usage. That's why it's more necessity. You can go along the route. So you have to identify the nature of electric usage in the day and the night. Okay, and then relay them to firm's pricing strategy, okay, for your TCs. Yeah? So what about antithesis? The antithesis is the tricky part. Anybody wants to try? Okay, I'll type it out. Okay, what do you think, okay, other than PED can cause difference in electric charges in the day and night? Okay, companies unable to utilize solar power. So based on this, okay, it simply means that I think this is pretty much a good approach. Okay, but if you were to consider this, it means that there is going to be lack of energy, right? Then all the more the cost of production of electricity should be higher, or something along the line. Okay, so it does not fulfill the day and night approach. Okay, so daytime when you have abundance of energy, you have solar to convert to electric, or probably, okay, your electric charges will be lower. Okay, so good try. But you can consider the cost of production approach. Okay, so my recommendation for antithesis is to identify, okay, what could have drive up production cost in day as compared to nighttime. I want you all to give a good thought about that. Okay, could it be there is, okay, greater need of manpower? Okay, I leave it to you all to think about that. Okay, you can think about from cost of production. Okay, because with higher cost of production, then producers will pass off higher cost to consumer. Okay, so whatever it is, okay, the answer is not that important. It is how you structure this answer that is more important. Yeah, and sometimes, okay, with such a high allocation mark, you realize that this is relatively high. You need a synthesis. Okay, you don't need to spend too much time, okay, to write synthesis, probably 1 mark, okay, 1 mark illustration. So overall, okay, what is your stand, okay, on PED? Is it useful or not? Okay. So remember, such questions are very popular. Okay, especially for my H1 students. Okay, they will use the explain and comment combination. Then this kind of question can go up to 8 to 9 marks. Okay, so I will probably address this kind of question more, okay, when we have more when we are exposed to more of such questions. Okay, so am I done with B2? For those who flag out B2 that there is difficult, have I addressed your concern already? Okay, good. Thanks. Okay, so by popular by vote, nobody indicated A as a interest, a point of interest. So I'm not going to bring out A. Okay, you guys sort it out yourself. Hey, make sure you use case material extract 3. If not, I will mark students down. All right, so I believe that the source of the point of interest is actually question F. Everyone brought up question F. Okay, so for those who bring up question F, okay, maybe can you all bring up what is the challenge that you encountered for question F? What do you find particularly difficult for question F? Right, someone brought up that it's a vague question. Deciding on the factors and linking at extract 1 and 2. Don't know what the question is asking. Okay, what the question means by factors. Okay, so now let's go through. Oh, I think I'm lagging again. Yeah, I'll probably pause a while. Am I back? Not sure that today the internet connection like my mood. Hey, am I back, everyone? Am I back? Okay, good. If I'm laggy, just type laggy. Okay, so that I will pause accordingly. All right, so okay, using extract 1 and 2. Okay, yeah. Okay, someone said that I'm laggy. I will just slow down. All right, using extract 1 and 2. Discuss the factors that UK government should consider in redeveloping the coal industry. So identifying the keywords first. Okay, so what do you all think are the keywords? Obviously, we need extract 1 and 2. Right? Okay, so still quite laggy. Am I still quite laggy? The rest? Still quite laggy? Oh no. Honestly, this is like a first world problem, right? Okay, can you let me know when I'm back in person? Then I'll probably when I'm back in person, just give me a thumbs up. Okay, so that I know that I can carry on. If not, whatever I say, you're not going to capture that. Still laggy? Cannot. But strange, I can see all of you all very well. Still laggy? Okay. Oh, but can you hear me or not? Or is it better if I turn off my webcam? If I turn off my webcam, you all cannot see anything. Hey, wow, I'm facing some challenges. I am not sure how to overcome this. Maybe should I... The audio cuts off here and there. Can't see and can't hear. Your words are very chopped up. Hey, 1 second now. Let me do a broadband test. Wait, I think my internet is something wrong. Yeah. Am I back? Still choppy? Okay. It seems like I'm back finally. Okay, great, thanks. I'll carry on. Okay, whenever it's choppy, just let me know. Okay, if not, I'll probably reboot my PC. Okay, so let me know I'm still choppy. Alright, okay, can I go on, everyone? Yes? On. Or should I turn on my hotspot? Oh, the internet is so slow now. Oh no. Yeah, I can tell. Okay, maybe I turn on my hotspot. Let's see how it. One second, okay, I'll turn on my hotspot. Let's see if it is better. Still laggy, right? Okay, I'll turn on my hotspot. Okay, am I back? Am I better now? I'm using my hotspot. Yeah, I honestly pray that the hotspot is okay lah, but it's not definitely not as good as the LAN internet lah, but it's better than nothing. Okay, so can you guys hear my audio? I can see clearly, Okay, great, thanks. Hey, thanks for accommodating to this challenge. This is my first time. Yeah, but I probably need a backup for that. Yep. So as I was saying, likewise, okay, if the internet turns choppy again, please let me know. Alright, so as I was saying, okay, this question requires you to identify the keywords first. Okay, we have extract 1 and 2. Okay, you need extract materials. Okay, you need to find, and these two keywords are the most important one. Okay, factors. Okay, that the UK government should consider. Okay, whenever you see this combination of keyword, okay, you have to consider a specific approach. Okay, and the last one, and the last keyword that you have to consider is the coal industry. Okay, why is it coal industry? Okay, so these are the few keywords to be concerned about. So now, okay, what framework do we need to adopt here? Factors. Have we gone through factors question before? I think just now someone was asking me. Yeah, that's why I kind of address. Okay, so what framework do we need here? Remember, this is a government question, Alright, so what is the government interested about? Okay, you can learn to paraphrase. Okay, so decision-making framework. Okay, so we can use decision-making framework. Okay, so to be more specific, okay, this is the framework that I have covered. I may have covered previously. Okay, but you guys may want to make a mental note again. Whenever you see these two words being paired together, factors and a country, okay, you'll want to consider this approach of benefit, cost, constraint. Okay, I'll call it BCC framework. Okay, so I don't think I have enough space, so I will use the bottom half to develop. I'll use another page to develop. Okay, you can join me in this. Make sure you copy this down. Okay, so benefits, cost, constraint. Alright, so now let's take one step back. Okay, what do you think is a benefit, okay, to consumer? Sorry, to government. What is a benefit to government? Okay, putting aside the coal industry, okay, we don't need coal yet. But what is a benefit to a government? What is the role of government? Okay, so society welfare, to maximize society welfare, right? So in another words, okay, a benefit to the government is to achieve its objectives. Okay, so you may want to look into the perspective of micro and macro objectives. So I've already stated in this question that you see here, students who are not familiar with macro may omit the requirement from extract 1 and 2 and use your own knowledge. So this question clearly calls for some form of macro. Okay, so I want you all to bookmark this question. Why? Because you all haven't learned macro yet. Okay, so the next time when you revisit this question, I want you all to consider adopting some macro approach. Okay, but I didn't put this question for fun. Okay, you still can use micro. So at the very least, okay, do we have this in place? Micro and macro objectives. Okay, so someone brought up efficiency and equity. Okay, then that's micro objectives. That are the two E's that you want to be familiar with. Okay, macro, there's 4. Okay, H2, there are four objectives. I'm not going to cover them today. Okay, so you can look into what are the micro objectives that the government can have, okay, when they redevelop coal industry. Okay, what about cost? Okay, what is the perspective to adopt when we use cost? What perspective should we take? If benefits are concerned about objectives, okay, what is cost? Okay, it's likely to be the opposite, right? Okay, what are the micro or macro problems created? Okay, could there be any source of inefficiency? Could this lead to inequity? Or could it worsen your 4 macro goals? Okay, so overall there are only 6 objectives for government. 2 micro, 4 macro. H1 there are 3 macro, so 5. Okay, so all together you cannot go beyond this few. Alright, and the last one, okay, requires you to identify, okay, what is a constraint, okay, when the government redevelops the coal industry. Okay, so most of the time you're concerned about budget constraint. Okay, or what prevents the government from pursuing coal industry. So now I want you all to type out, okay, what is one benefit that you guys think that the government, okay, will enjoy? Okay, what objective? Okay, so someone brought up jobs. What else? Okay, let's brainstorm together. Okay, we have jobs. Short-term, more efficient use of resources. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Okay, you may want to develop. Okay, you may want to illustrate. What about the rest? So far, okay, the extract tells us jobs, right? You can see from the extract itself. I also thought jobs. Yeah, you can see here, okay, extract 1 and 2 tells you that, okay, can create jobs. So unfortunately, we haven't learned the jobs approach. Okay, equity due to jobs. Okay, possibly, okay, but you need to spend some time and effort to develop this point. Okay, so the actual approach requires you to use macro, or what I call ADAS framework. Okay, some of you may have learned this already. Okay, and to relate to unemployment. How does this reduce unemployment? Okay, so for this, okay, I will not develop. Okay, let's cross this out. A bit hard to build this. Okay, but when you revisit this, okay, when you learn unemployment somewhere in term 1 or term 2, okay, then I want you to reattempt this, okay, and you'll find so much more meaning here. Okay, what about costs? Okay, are there any costs incurred? Are there any micro or macro problems that may arise when you redevelop coal industry? Let me re-emphasize coal industry. What kind of problems arises when you use coal? Alright, Nat, okay, but it's not good enough, okay, because it's same actually, okay, is a good point, but it's not good enough. So you're not using the correct terms. Okay, for the girls, you want to consider what's the N word. Okay, if you can get the N word, okay, you can get it right. Okay, Zach, close enough, okay, but still not precise. N word. Alright, okay, so girls, okay, good. Okay, this time around the girls outperform the guys, the boys. So the keyword here is negative externalities. So you have to be extra sensitive. What is the significance of negative externalities? Okay, it means that there is allocative inefficiency. Okay, is this a problem? It is a problem, right? Because society welfare is not maximized when there is negative externality and allocative inefficiency. Okay, so you need the externality approach. You need the negative externality approach. So is this a production or consumption based externality? How do we know? Or is there a need to distinguish between production and consumption? So undergoing this line of thought, okay, at the end of the day, you should be able to deduce very quickly. Okay, so Nat, why? Why is your answer that? Okay, so for the rest, okay, I'm still waiting. Zach, you haven't tell me what's the N word. Okay, Elijah went radio silent. N doesn't stand for no. Okay, in fact, Elijah, we just went through that earlier on. Alright, okay, so you have to be concerned about keywords such as carbon. See, carbon emission. See? Right, great, Zach, finally. Okay, so the next step is to deduce whether is it a production or consumption based externality. Hey, important, deducing whether is it positive or negative. And once you deduce that, you have to go on further to deduce whether is it a consumption or production. So you can clearly see that this extract is about coal, right? Okay, the production of electricity requires you to burn coal. Okay, when you burn coal, okay, this will result in global warming, that kind of thing. Okay, so this is a production-based externality. Okay, so it's a negative externalities of production. Alright, so when you identify that the government is concerned that there is negative externality of production, then you need to illustrate how market failure arises, how allocative inefficiency arises. Alright, so if you take a good look at the first three lessons, it's essentially about market failure. Okay, but it's actually very frustrating when I keep marking the same thing and I keep marking the same thing wrong. Okay, so let's put an end to the framework. Okay, we get the framework right this time round. Okay, and if you still struggle with the framework, it probably means that you didn't revise your answer. Okay, and remember, it's not about how much you do, it's about how much you recap and revise. Okay, there's no point keep making the wrong mistake. So what are the 6 steps approach? Okay, Zach, unmute yourself. Okay, what is the 6-step approach that I shared with you? Step number 1. Don't hide. Quick, unmute yourself. Fast. The faster you participate, the faster can end.
The definition.
Okay, you want to define what is negative externality of production. Step 1. Step 2.
Identify the external cost.
Alright, so what is the external cost here?
Like other people fall sick, is it because of the carbon produced?
Right. Okay, you can talk about global warming. Okay, as some of you brought up environment, whatever pollution, you can relate to a third party cost. Step number 3. Okay, what is the framework that we adopt here? The sub framework. The main framework is BCC. What's the sub framework here? Okay, we need to find out for those who have issues with step number 3. Okay, this is probably where you stumble. Okay, Nat, step number 3.
Explain that the rational decision maker framework.
Okay, so this is a production, right? So okay, it's the same. Okay, you have to explain how producers decide how much to produce. Okay, so they will produce up to MPB equals to MPC. Okay, for my H2 students, you'll probably find this more familiar with the concept of profit maximizing. MC equals to MR, but we don't need this. Okay, this is externality, then we use, or market failure, we use MPB, MPC. Alright, so for MPB, okay, you want to relate, okay, what is the benefit that the producer can get, okay, when they sell an additional unit of coal? Okay, so what is the benefit to a producer? Okay, revenue, right? Okay, the additional the revenue that you get from selling an additional unit of coal. Okay, likewise, okay, you are concerned about the cost, the monetary and opportunity cost for selling an additional unit of coal. Make sure you expand this out. And you need to state why MPB equals to MPC is important, because this is profit maximizing. Okay, so step number 4 is to draw the diagram of externality. Okay, please label your diagram properly. Don't make me shade the deadweight loss. Okay, and for students who are still not using the diagram, shame on you. Okay, because must use. Okay, so let me reload this. We can use this diagram on the right. Okay, so you can see that, okay, in the presence of the external cost, okay, there will be overproduction. Right? Okay, and with this overproduction, you want to state this under step number 5 here. Okay, the presence of the MEC will lead to a divergence between MPC and MSC. Okay, and this leads to overproduction. Why is this overproduction? Some of you ask me. Okay, if you look at this diagram again, you can see that the private producer will produce up to here. MPB equals to MPC. Okay, this is the private, sorry, this is the source. Okay, I got it wrong here. MPB equals to MPC is here. Okay, so you can see that this is the private production level, QP. Okay, but if you account for the external cost, okay, the MSC equals to MSB, or the society welfare, is maximized here. Okay, and therefore there is overproduction. Okay, when your QS is smaller than QP. So the last step is to illustrate how inefficient allocation of resource arises, IEAR. So IEAR also must use your marginalist principle. For those who are still not using that, you usually not well know who you are. Okay, please get it right, okay, in this question. So all you need to is to illustrate that at the private production level, your marginal social cost exceeds your marginal social benefit, and you got to explain what is this. Why is this allocative inefficient? Okay, it tells you that at the existing production level, when you produce an additional unit of coal, the society cost that you incur is greater than the society benefit that you gain. Therefore, okay, this will be your inefficient allocation of resource. Shade it out. So with these 6 steps, okay, you can illustrate the second point, okay, or cost or unintended consequence. Some of the schools use this approach. Is everyone good with point number 2? Okay, please don't reinvent the wheel. Okay, although there are many other approach for cost, okay, but this is the one that's most sound. Well, the third one is actually a constraint, is actually an easy way out for all of you. Alright, so I want you all to develop this point yourself. Okay, what do we mean by budget constraint? For instance, okay, when more resources are channeled or devoted to produce coal, okay, which other sectors are likely to be affected? Okay, and why is that so? Okay, I want you all to work on budget constraint. It's not difficult. Is everyone clear? Alright, so the challenge of this question is getting the points right. So number 1, you have to adopt the correct framework. You have to straight away know that it's asking about micro and macro objectives and problems. Okay, and to fit it properly. So on the actual exam setting, okay, the suggested approach is always 1B and 1C. Okay, this is the suggested approach. 1B and 1C. Okay, if it's an 8 to 10 mark question, 1B and 1C is good enough. If it's a 12 mark, then BCC. Okay, the full 3 points have to come out. So at the moment, okay, unfortunately, you all haven't learned the B yet. The B requires macro. There's no other way to illustrate B. Okay, therefore, you have to consider the 2 C's. Okay, so this is the next best alternative. Okay, but in an actual exam setting, let me repeat. Okay, always balance out 1B and 1C. Okay, not 2 C's. 2 C's, you'll get marked lower. Understand what I'm saying? Okay, and remember to wrap up with a synthesis. Okay, so overall, okay, which factor do you all think is more important? Okay, and why? Okay, or if you all can identify any hidden assumptions, okay, within the question, okay, and to critique them, okay, to come out with a judgment, go ahead. Okay, so for this question, I'm going to leave you guys to work on 2 things. Okay, the easy part will be constraint. Okay, develop and explaining what is the concept of budget constraint. Okay, and the hard one is synthesis. How am I going to build a substantiated judgment? Okay, what are the hidden assumptions behind that? Alright? Questions? Okay, so we'll go for, I'll be back by 3:05. If you have any questions for me, stay back and ask me. Okay, if not, we'll start at 3:05. Thanks. Zach, yes, correct. Alright, great, thanks. Okay, once you're ready, please turn on your webcam. Okay, so I will open up 4 breakout rooms. We'll have 40 minutes to attempt these 4 questions. Anytime that you're not sure on how to approach, please ask for help. Okay, is that clear, everyone? Okay, so please join the room. Thanks. Hi, Zach. How are you? Can you unmute and
Yes.
ask? Yeah.
Yeah. So wait, I just want to ask you for part A, right? The the factor is it the inventories and stocks? Just checking. Like, yeah.
Look out for extract 3. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay, and work out yourself. Extract 3 will point out to you very clearly.
Okay.
Okay, so just be confident and go ahead. Okay, extract 3. Keyword is extract 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Try lah, try. Huh?
Okay. Okay.
Thanks. Alright, great. That's it. Thanks, all. Time's up. Stop writing. So I will be going through. Once you're ready, please turn on our webcam. Great. So do you all have your correction pen with you? If you have, please wave it on screen so that I know that we are ready to go. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so we'll be going through 4 questions. Okay, so once you're ready, okay, let's begin. So actually in the Friday class I went through this, okay, but just now nobody asked, so I did. I didn't go through that. But anyway, it's fine. Okay, so I hope you guys are doing the right thing. Okay, let's compare the answers for this. So with reference to extract 3, explain why the value of price elasticity of supply of new housing in UK might change over time. Okay, so probably we don't really have much time. I was thinking whether should I get someone to respond, but fine. Now, okay, such question is not or rather, you don't really see over time question. Normally they won't prompt you over time. Okay, but okay, if we were to apply common sense, right? Okay, what is the likely value of PES in the short run and long run? Okay, you can make a rough deduction here. Okay, so in short run, okay, you can make a deduction. Okay, anything in short run is likely to be inelastic, and long run is likely to be elastic. Okay, and why is that so? Okay, you can look at the book. Okay, it tells us this. Okay, MINTS, right? Okay, we can see that generally as a rule of thumb, okay, no matter is it PED or PES time period, okay, time period in the short run is going to be more inelastic than in the long run, which is going to be more elastic. Okay, so how do we know whether we need a short run and long run approach? Over time is the keyword. So check whether you have a short run and long run approach. Next, okay, check whether you have adopted the correct hypothesis, okay, of PES is lesser than 1 in short run and long run is greater than 1. So unfortunately, okay, we cannot use time period here, but this is just a rough guideline. Okay, so what do we need here is from extract 3. So now let's take a look at extract 3. Okay, what can we see here? We can see that building in short term is helped by a lack of materials and labor. Okay, you can see that bricks are running out. Construction workers have left the industry. Okay, and the industry has struggled to recruit enough labor. So what does this tell us? Okay, so which of the alphabets are likely to be present? Okay, or which of the factors are likely to be present here? Okay, can you all type out your response? Okay, based on page 13, which alphabet do you all think is likely to be present in the short run? Is it factor mobility, inventories, number of producers, time period, or spare capacity? Okay, I start to see answers pouring in. Alright, so as a rule of thumb, generally, okay, so long as you can substantiate your point. Like for instance, okay, lack of materials, labor, bricks running out. Okay, this is likely to be spare capacity, right? Okay, because there's not enough material, not enough bricks. Okay, the brick factory is running at the maximum already. Okay, construction workers leaving the industry, we can see that, okay, the number of producers, okay, in the short run, especially when they left the industry, okay, is likely to be inelastic. Industry has struggled to recruit enough skilled labor. We can quickly relate this to what? Okay, probably a factor immobility. Right? So like I said, okay, I'm going to be quite lenient for this. So long as you can cite a case material, relate it to an alphabet from the book, okay, and state the value. Alright, so if you have any alternate interpretation, please key this in the chat. Okay, I'll pick it up from there. So I actually use spare capacity. Okay, so the first mark goes to define. Make sure you define, okay, what is PES. No define, no first mark. Make sure you insert ceteris paribus as well. So the question asks for value. Okay, if you tell me PES is inelastic, also no mark. Okay, you must state the inequality sign. Agreed? Okay, so it tell me that in the short run it's inelastic. So I'm going to accept this few variation. Spare capacity, you link to the correct case profile or the case evidence. If you tell me that there is insufficient producers, okay, or lack of producers, okay, you tell me construction workers. If you tell me that there is a factor immobility, then you tell me that, okay, there's a challenge recruiting skilled labor. Okay, so these are the three that I accept. Right, in the long run, you can actually use the opposite approach. You can see that in the long run, PES is going to be more elastic. Okay, you can see that brick makers are going to be reopened. Okay, so this is the reverse. You can use factor mobility. Okay, that skilled workers are going to be present because the former military personnel who join the industry, they are going to be skilled in the long run. So can. So generally, these are the 2 to 3 alphabets that I accept. Okay, I don't see especially inventory and stocks don't work really well here. Okay, is everyone good? Okay, it is just a mere adoption of means in the short and long run approach and justifying them with the case material. Okay? Okay, B1 is a free giveaway. Okay, so make sure you check whether you have inserted ceteris paribus. No CP, no B1 mark. Huh? Alright, and B2 is as per what we have discussed earlier on. Okay, so this is the mark distribution that I recommend. Number 1, okay, you need to illustrate what exactly is the price difference between day and night. Okay, so you need to state that electric charges are higher in the day. Right? Okay, it's price higher. So why is it price higher? Okay, so the explanation comes here. So like what Elijah mentioned earlier on, okay, you can illustrate that higher degree of necessity. Okay, and you can substantiate why. Okay, probably you need to turn on aircon. There is greater usage of electric appliances. Okay, likewise, at the night, okay, the degree of necessity is lower. It's more price elastic. Okay, and therefore, based on these two difference in PED values, okay, producers who want to maximize revenue or what? If it's inelastic, I will raise price. If elastic, I will lower price. Okay, the overall objective is to maximize total revenue. Okay, so within the thesis, there are two things you need to uncover. Okay, you need to use PANT to identify the key determinant, okay, that determines the two differing PED value. And next, you want to relate to producers' pricing strategy. Okay, how should they price their goods based on the PED value? Alright, so this is pretty much something that I've covered earlier on. It's the antithesis that I didn't cover, right? So what other factors can drive difference in your production cost other than PED? Okay, so this is what is asked. Okay, so I gave you guys a hint. You can consider this approach, but your cost of production. So you can illustrate that your cost of production is higher in day as compared to night. Okay, so during the night, okay, you can see that nuclear and coal fire stations with lower operating costs will be used. In the daytime, okay, power stations with higher operating costs like fire stations will be activated. So unfortunately, we are not we are not engineers, right? Okay, we wouldn't possibly know, okay, the what kind of stations will be used. In Singapore, there is only natural gas. I believe natural gas. I don't know whether there's coal or not. So a bit hard. Okay, I'm going to be a bit lenient. Okay, so if you can illustrate labor costs down here, okay, I'm going to give you the mark. Or any attempt to illustrate there's a difference in cost of production. Okay, nighttime, lower cost of production. Daytime, higher cost of production, I will accept. Yeah? Okay, and the last mark goes to a synthesis. Okay, and we can't tell. Okay, because the extract only suggests, the extract only makes us to make a deduction about PED, right? Okay, but we wouldn't necessarily know, okay, which factor is dominant. Is it the cost of production factor or is it the PED factor? Right? So unless the extract reveals the PED value, if not, we cannot conclude, okay, whether PED is the main culprit, okay, that actually determines the difference in price difference. Okay, so you can cite data inadequacy, okay, as a synthesis. Okay, so this is particularly useful, okay, because when we move on to standard of living, okay, for macro, okay, most of the time when they ask you to use a data table, okay, you can cite data inadequacy, okay, as a synthesis. Okay, so make a mental note here. Okay, data inadequacy is useful for synthesis. Insufficient data to make judgment. Good. All right, the last question. Okay, I've gone through the framework. I've gone through the approach. So for the viewers out there, okay, if you have missed out what I've covered earlier on, okay, please rewind, catch back the outline phase. Okay, I'm going to go through the answer directly. Okay, so like I've said, okay, this question requires you to identify two things. Number one, framework. Okay, benefit, cost constraint. Okay, and number two, relate them to macro objectives, micro objectives, or macro problems. Okay, and you are supposed to deduce what does redeveloping of coal industry means. Okay, it simply means allocating more resource to produce coal. So like I've said earlier on in the outline, okay, on a good day, you should consider the combination of 1B and 1C. Okay, so please don't adopt 2 C's. Okay, we are adopting 2 C's here because B is out of reach. Okay, so use a good topic sentence. Okay, you want to consider allocative inefficiency. Okay, so if you bring out concerns of pollution, it's not good enough. Because what's the concept behind pollution? Negative externalities. Okay, I also accept negative externalities. Okay, if you use that as a topic sentence. Okay, negative externalities of production. So let's see whether we have adhered the 6 steps. Okay, step 1 is to define, right? Okay, I'm so sorry I did not define. Okay, missing step 1. Okay, define what is negative externalities of production. So you can see that step number 2. Okay, when you burn coal, okay, it will increase carbon emission in UK and global warming. See step number 2 being used here? Okay, so these are third party costs incurred by others who are not involved in the production of coal. So check your writing whether you have step number 2. Step number 3, rational decision making framework. Okay, so a rational producer, okay, will consider MPB and MPC. MPC, marginal cost of production, opportunity cost for selling an additional coal. Okay, MPB, revenue generated from selling an additional coal. And they will sell it up to QP to maximize profit. Right, so show the diagram. Step number 4, make sure you have the diagram. Check. It can be a parallel. Some schools use parallel. Step number 5, illustrate that the divergence. Okay, or you can illustrate that MSC is higher than MPC. Okay, results in overproduction. Step number 6, okay, use the marginalist principle to show how inefficient allocation of resource arise. Okay, so just now I've covered precisely how to illustrate this point. So make sure you illustrate, okay, at the private consumption level, QP, MSC exceeds MSB. And what does it mean? Okay, just now I've already said that already. Okay, so check. All I need is to tally. If any of the 6 steps are not in, means that your comprehension of the framework is incomplete. Okay, so do correction and revise that. So earlier on, I did not cover constraint. Okay, so let me spend a little bit more time to illustrate constraint. So the keywords behind constraint means that, okay, what is preventing the government from developing? Okay, so it is a different from cause or unintended consequence. Cause and unintended consequence is normally a direct trade-off. Okay, when I do something, it worsens something else. That's why it's called trade-off. Okay, so constraints is slightly different. So you can see that when the UK government has to allocate more resource to redevelop coal industry, okay, they will have to make a choice, right? Remember, okay, what we learned about scarcity. Okay, there's unlimited wants, right? Okay, but there are limited resources to meet the wants. So we can see that the government, likewise, is going to face the same problem. Okay, if they have limited budget, what do? Then they will have to cut back spending on elsewhere. So you can see here, okay, this will result in a budget deficit and they want to spend more on coal industry. Okay, budget deficit is a concept that we'll be learning next year when we learn fiscal policy. Okay, you can make a mental note here, but we don't really need to know fiscal policy here. So it simply means that the government must overspend. Okay, if the government is not in the ability to overspend, then they have to cut somewhere else. Right? If you have $10, you cannot spend $11 unless you have $1 saving. Okay, so if you are required to spend $11, then you have to scale back on somewhere else. Okay, so you want to scale back on where? Okay, education, healthcare, okay, or any contrasting industry. Okay, there is not mentioned in the extract. So why do I emphasize on education and healthcare? Okay, remember, okay, these two industries requires what? Massive spending, right? Why is that so? What's the nature behind these two? What is the lowest common denominator behind these two? Why do you think there's a need to spend here? Type it out. And what's the M word? M. P also can. Am I giving too much hints? I realize that I kind of like spoon feeding. I'm not sure. M or P? Right. Okay. P also works. Okay. So you realize that education and healthcare exhibits positive externality. Okay. Or okay, they are very good. Okay. So whenever you bring in budget deficit, okay, or you bring in budget constraint, okay, then you want to illustrate, okay, what is the opportunity cost you incur when you want to cut back on any other areas. Okay, so sometimes you can also bring in public good here. Okay, you realize that when you scale back on any of this will worsen society welfare in other areas. Okay, so it's not necessarily good. Alright, let's spend some time on the synthesis. Synthesis is the easy part. Yesterday, one of the students was asking me, Mr. Teo, how do I build synthesis? Right, synthesis requires you to uncover an assumption. Okay, that's in the extract. Right, so what is the assumption behind this extract? So we realize that, okay, there is one constraint and there is one cause, right? So is it necessarily bad? Okay, if you were to paraphrase. Okay, so if you ever found yourself not knowing how to construct, okay, a synthesis, you can ask yourself, okay, based on the BCC framework, okay, is it necessarily bad? Okay, or is it necessarily a constraint? But these are some ideas that you can lead towards questioning the assumption. So how do we know it's necessarily not bad or necessarily bad? Okay, we need to find out, okay, whether the government is doing these two things. So earlier on, we uncovered that, okay, when you redevelop the coal industry, it will exhibit negative externality, right? Okay, it's undesirable. But whether is it necessarily bad or undesirable depends on what? Okay, you can look at these two. Effectiveness and adoption, okay, of the CCS technology. So CCS technology was mentioned in the extract. They did not plant that in for fun. So what is CCS technology? What is CCS technology? CCS by no means is stop referring to a politician here. Okay, it is referring to a technology in the extract. Okay, but if you all know the name of the politician, you all can key that in. Right? Okay, so CCS technology tells us that there is carbon capture and storage. Alright, so it simply means that, okay, coal-fired power stations, okay, when they burn coal, okay, they are able to pipe harmful emissions underground. You see that? So if the coal power stations are able to trap carbon effectively, then we will not have carbon emission. So will it be necessarily bad? It won't be necessarily bad, right? So this is the assumption. How effective, okay, are people adopting CCS? So you can see that the problem of negative externalities may no longer be an issue. Okay, and therefore, okay, the government can consider to proceed. So now let's take one step ahead. Okay, we see that even though the CCS technology can reduce the production, okay, during the production of electricity, you can trap, okay, you can trap carbon, okay, in the underwater bed when you produce carbon. But okay, when you extract coal, okay, when you dig coal, you still exhibit carbon emission. So when you burn coal, you can trap the carbon, but when you extract coal, you cannot trap the carbon, right? So you cannot negate the negative externality entirely, right? So you can see that, okay, on the other hand, okay, there are certain factors that inhibits this technology. Okay, likewise, okay, we can see that CCS is expected to be an additional cost, right? You see all this kind of technology is likely required by the firm to incur extra costs, right? Okay, so the private coal producers, okay, if they don't have government support, okay, they are unlikely to be involved in this technology because it incurs additional costs. Okay, so this is what I call adoption rate. So if none of the coal producers are adopting this wonderful technology, then negative externalities will still persist, right? Then there's still a problem. Okay, so the whole idea behind this is question the assumption, right? So is it necessarily true that it's going to be a problem? Or is it necessarily true, okay, that there is going to be a constraint? Now think about that. Alright, so I'm going to upload the I'm so sorry I over exceed, but let me quickly wrap up. Okay, I'm going to quickly run through some of the alternate approach. Okay, so some of the alternate approach will only make sense when you learn macro. Okay, so this is macro. Okay, you can talk about supply shock, imported inflation. Okay, you can talk about structural unemployment. You can talk about demand deficient unemployment if you know what you're writing. Okay, you can possibly talk about promoting equity, occupational immobility, reducing, but this one I don't really recommend because it requires you to take a lot of assumption. All right, so with this, okay, I'm going to wrap up. Okay, so I would like you guys to type out one thing you have learned today. Okay, before we conclude today's session. Okay, one thing. Okay, you can PM me if you're not comfortable with sharing with your classmates what you have learned. And just one thing. Okay, so go Elijah. Okay, so we have the benefit cost constraint framework. Net. Okay, data inadequacy as a form of synthesis. Okay, this is very important. Okay, especially when the data points out to you, okay, for a table. When they ask you to reference to an evidence, okay, and if it's a high mark allocation question, most of the time the synthesis can be structured like this. How to apply long run and short run framework in different questions, right? Only for this, okay, B part 2 is is it B part 2? Okay, question A is a long run and short run. Synthesis and determinants of PES and the framework. Okay, great. Okay, so with that, okay, I'm going to conclude today's activity. So the remaining questions are optional. Like I've said, if you're not doing well for your promos, I recommend you to do this. I will mark them. Okay, the remaining questions. So with that, okay, thank you. Okay, and I will see you next week during Christmas. All right, thanks. Bye.